All right, guys. So I've got Imran back again, and we're on our third interview, our final one before hopefully we'll do our Q&A. I just can't wait to actually tell people about what Imran has shared with us over the last two parts that we did, which was, understanding autonomous cars, electric cars, giving a broad understanding about that, and then discussing about the trends. And, we've put all this information together in sort of a three-part series to tell you all about what is going on in this sector. And the third part, which is the final part, is all about electric cars. Imran has got some great knowledge, some great information that he wants to share with us. And how is it going to impact us? What is it going to do in our society? And share some key information about telling us more where autonomous cars is going when things will turn more electrical in the future, in the sense of self-driving cars. So Imran, it's great to get you on this third part, and let's fire away with discussing all about this.
Cool. Thank you very much for that, Naz. So today's topic is pretty much going to be around electric cars, and I'm going to try and answer some of the key questions I always get asked about electric cars, and just give you an overview of what will happen when we will see it, and some of the burning questions around range anxiety, etc. So the first question I ask everyone is, what's wrong with a petrol car or a diesel car? Why do we have to go electric? Well, the main reason is most governments around the world, so including UK, France, Germany, Norway, China, etc., they've announced some sort of measures to switch off what we call internal combustion engines, or ICE vehicles. So in other words, any vehicle that's running on a petrol or diesel engine. And the main reason behind that is to do with their tailpipe emissions. And most of these countries have now all signed the Paris Climate Accord. So the key main reason that you would say is to go electric is for regulations and emission purposes, to all about going green. Yeah, and in the future, obviously, eventually there will be a shortage supply of oil as well. So that's one other key reason.
That's a very key point you made there. Just sorry to say, but you mentioned regulation in terms of going green. Can you just sort of touch upon that, in terms of that area sort of thing?
So for example, most governments are now committed to reducing their carbon footprint, reducing the carbon dioxide emissions, which is laid out in the Paris Climate Accord. And one of the ways they're trying to tackle that is by reducing tailpipe emissions from vehicles. So what they have started to do is legislate to basically that all new vehicle sales will from now on have to be electric cars, and even various different cities within various countries. So for example, in London recently, they released something called the ULEZ, ultra low emission zone.
I don't know, guys. I'm always learning it.
Yeah, so cars of a certain sort of emission standard are not allowed in the city centre in London, and various cities around the world have got similar sort of initiatives ongoing. So that's the first part is why are they becoming, why cars becoming electric, and the main reason is because it's to reduce the carbon footprint. The second question I get asked is, so I understand the need to protect the environment, etc., but what I don't understand is, when will all the cars become electric? So different countries have come up with different sort of targets. So, for example, I can talk about UK in specific, because we've done a lot of research about UK. So if you look at countries like China, which is really leading the way, as well as Norway, I think China in Norway, 40% of all new vehicle sales are electric vehicles. In China, by 2025, 1 in 5 car sold will be electric. And in the UK, what we analysed is, by the year 2022, an electric vehicle will roughly cost you the same amount as what we call a petrol or diesel engine, mainly because the price of the battery will come down. And so therefore, by 2025, we will see is about 27% or so of all new vehicles in England sold in the UK will be electric. And BMW have, one of their executives recently said is by 2026, for the car manufacturers, they believe an electric vehicle car will be as profitable as a petrol or diesel car by 2026. And then you'll get a very steep adoption curve where by 2030, roughly 70% of all cars will be electric in the UK. And by 2040, roughly all of them, or nearly all, will be, for passenger vehicles, will be electric.
So there's a massive shift.
You're seeing.
There's a massive shift going on between petrol diesel cars to what you're saying by 2020, 2022 is going to be more electric in terms of that shift and that transition happening.
And a lot of that is dependent on the price of the vehicle. So as the battery cost comes down, more people will start buying electric vehicles. Also, more car companies have been a bit slow in releasing new electric vehicles, but they're now kind of cranking that up a little bit. The other thing is infrastructure. One key question I always get asked is, Imran, if I have an electric car, where am I going to charge it? And if you're in most major cities, especially in, say, UK, you're not too far away from a charge point or a petrol station that has a charge point. And you can get various apps that will tell you where your nearest one is. And even some electric cars built into them, they have they will tell you where the nearest charging point is.
Yeah, I do see all over London.
Correct. You do start to see them. And in certain cities, you can request your local authority to put a charge point in if you need be. And you can even charge it at home on your front drive overnight. So which is good. The other key question I get asked is, and it's a very interesting question, is what's the average range of electric cars? So if I fully charge it, how many miles will I get before I have to charge again? A lot of that actually depends on the car you have. And the higher the range, obviously, the higher the price. But typically at the moment, we've got fully electric vehicles that can do anywhere between 200 miles to 350 miles or even 370 miles, which is advertised, on a full charge. And then in the future, as the technology improves, we'll start to see it get up closer towards a 400-mile range, which is typical of if you've got a petrol fuel tank or a diesel fuel tank, you can do somewhere between 350 to 400 miles, depending on your vehicle. Then the other question I get asked is, and this is a very common question, is a question of range anxiety. So a lot of people are afraid is, if I have an electric car, I'm worried that I will run out of charge, and I wouldn't know where to charge and I'll have to wait a long time. So let me just try and tackle that. So if I've just outlined, you can get between 200 to say 350 miles on a current electric car if you were to buy one today. Most people, if you look at their journeys, they will be covered. 99% of all journeys today within the UK will be covered on a full charge. If you are a commercial vehicle driver or a taxi driver, then yes, you would then need to go into electric vehicle charge point and get charged. And then the question is, they currently have rapid chargers. So rapid charger, you can charge your car roughly 80% in about 30 minutes, roughly. Yeah, which is pretty good. Whereas if you charge your car at home, it'll probably be most of the night. And then finally, I just want to talk about various incentives. So Norway, which I discussed, which currently 40% of all new vehicle sales are electric, their government massively incentivized them. So they can get parking. They got free parking, use of bus lanes. There's various different grants, and every city in every country has a similar sort of incentive. So currently in the UK, you can get about roughly £3,500. It's called a plug-in car grant from the UK government. You also get added benefits because your tax is a little bit low in terms of road tax, and you're not penalised for driving in low congestion zones or low emission zones in, say, for example, the UK, if you have an electric car. So those are some of the small incentives. But the other big incentives is it's a lot cheaper to fill up.
I think that's the whole point, right? To make it cheaper, is it? Right.
Correct. So it will be a lot cheaper. Whether that be the case in the future, because obviously as revenues from petrol tax receipts go down, you may see some sort of taxation on electric vehicles in many, many years to come. But that's a topic for another day.
There you go, guys. So what a great insight from Imran about electrical cars. He covered so many topics in this interview, telling us all about it. And I hope you found it all entertaining. There were some things that I didn't even know that Imran shared. And this is why I got him on board as a specialist to really be serious about this topic. You know, how electric cars are going to take over our society surely but slowly, and how, you know, this is going to impact our lives. And we see it all over London with some of what is going on in that aspect. Imran, it's great to get you on board, to hear your views all about it. I hope everyone found it entertaining, and looking forward to hopefully doing a Q&A session and recapping on all of this, of what we've discussed, and follow from there. So Imran, absolute privilege to hear your thoughts, my man. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And thank you for your time. Thank you, Imran.
Yeah, thank you, Naz. Appreciate that.
Bye-bye.